The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken, the podcast all about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. I'm sitting here with Willie Dills Gregory and Jocelyn Moffat. Welcome back, both of you.
Yo! It's a full show and I'm echoing. Oh, God. Okay, no, it's fixed. Okay.
Okay.
Sweet. I thought Jocelyn said the most manly yo ever.
that would be just like me. Yes, big manly. Yo.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
You know, that's pretty decent. Does that mean I have to
Now
say...
that she's using her Harry's razor, things have changed. Her voice has dropped.
Oh, man, I missed you guys.
Use the code TAC at harrys.com to make your voice manly, whether you want it to be or not. Wow. Off to a great start. Thank you, Dills, for putting a smile on my face on this, the most I'm sick of adulting days.
Adulting sucks, man.
Adulting is so
It does.
overrated.
Just don't do it.
It's
Just don't
bad.
do it. Just refuse.
I know. I kind of just want to, I don't know, dress up like Indiana Jones and go play in my front yard. I feel like that would get me out of the real life funk I've found myself in.
The beauty of being an adult is you can.
Yeah.
You know, candy for dinner.
I was going to say ice cream, but candy works too.
Now, this is clearly spoken by someone who currently lives in Austin, before that lived on the West Coast, because Dills, while that is true, you have the freedom as an adult to dress up as your favorite fictional character and play on your front lawn. The problem is that if you live in Florida, you end up on the news and everyone's like, oh, look at this freak in Florida.
Man again.
But you do the exact same thing on the West Coast or in Austin, and they're just like, oh, look how creative they are.
Yeah, you're so weird. It's so good.
Exactly.
He's probably not going to eat my face. He's just keeping it weird, dude.
Yep. I live my life by one rule. Well, two rules. One of them is mulligan for Blade Master and Circle. The other rule is do not end up on Florida Man News. That's my second.
You're doing
rule.
a good job so far, man.
All
You're
right.
batting 1,000 on that one.
All right.
So nice work.
Sweet. Thanks. Well, speaking of hairy razors, by the way, they are sponsoring today's episode of The Angry Chicken. So our listeners should, regardless of the fact that Jocelyn's yo seems to be on point in terms of manly soundingness, you should definitely go to harrys.com, use the code TAC, and you will get $5 off your Truman starter set. It's usually $15. You'll get it for $10. harrys.com. They've got some good stuff. They sent me
Dude, that's like 33%, man. That's
know.
huge.
That's a big discount. They also sent me some shave balm, guys, and it smells lovely. It has
I know. I
aloe
feel like
in
my
it.
face smells really good ever since they sent me that kit.
I
mean, not that I'm smelling my own face, but you know.
Well, you kind of do. I mean, your face is
I guess
right
you're
there.
always smelling your
you're
own
always
face, aren't
smelling
you?
your own face, yeah.
Technically. Well, thanks, Harry's, for making that a more pleasant experience for me.
Yep. We thank them for their support. And before we dive in, because we're going to talk about a lot of Kara stuff this week again. And spoiler alert, we're probably going to talk quite a bit about Kara for the next 2 weeks, and probably a week or two after that. And honestly, until the next expansion. But I wanted to give a shout out because this past weekend we had a long 3-day fireside gathering where we were also playing host to the Tavern Hero finalists and the HCT preliminary players that elected to come to the Florida location to play out their preliminary games. And I have to give a big shout out. We had 7 players come. I believe 4 of them had to come the first day and play in the final round of the Tavern Hero, and they all made it through. And then they joined, and we had 3 more players the next day, so we had 7 players total show up. But I have to give an extra special shout out to Cyclone Appa. He plays for Team Cyclone, as the name would suggest. And that dude was the final. He went further than any other Tavern Hero player. He made it to the final round of the lower bracket before he got knocked out. So that dude kicked some serious butt. And just so darn nice. Actually, everyone was nice. I was expecting, oh geez, we got 7 people who are pro players coming. Somebody's gonna have some attitude. Nope, everyone was super cool. And when we it was our first time doing one of these, so when the admins, when we didn't know what was going on, they were super patient while we asked Blizzard, yo guys, what do we do with this particular question? So big thanks to everyone who turned out for that. It was
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it was a really fun tournament just to watch. I'm actually going to talk about it a little bit in the news, but it was cool that they were showing all of the. Did they show you guys on stream at all? Did you guys have a camera set up and everything?
We did. I honestly do not know, because here's a funny thing about working admin for a tournament. You don't get to watch the tournament.
Yeah, you're just sitting there doing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed, because you guys had it at the
I was
same
looking
venue
for
that
you
we had
guys.
CreateCon, right? So
Yes. I
yeah,
did
I didn't
notice
recognize any of the venues. So
as because I think 3 of our players made it pretty far. So when it got whittled down to like the last few players in each location, I did at one point during my break, because we had the stream going on in the common area. We did not have it in with the admins and with the players for obvious reasons.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. So then when I did take my break, I did notice that they had like it was the graphic up. It looked like the open book with all the different locations and the players who were still in. So Orlando was on there. We were marked on the map. They had the players that were still in. That was the only mention of our location that I noticed, but it was still cool that they were, hey guys, look at these players that are doing well.
Yeah, they were giving
locations.
shout outs on the stream. They're actually showing like feeds from some of them. It was pretty sweet. And you could clearly see that the people who were going to these gatherings were having a really good time. So
Yeah.
sure you guys had a blast as well. Unfortunately, you were adminning, but everybody who went, I'm sure, had a great time.
It was a really enlightening experience getting to admin for one of these tournaments. There's a lot going on. A lot of chatter.
I imagine.
But it was
We
cool.
actually have here in Austin, there's like a couple local things, but we don't have anything like really going on that scale. And I'm hoping at some point we can get that happening, because that is cool. How far did people come from? It was basically like all the Florida people were just coming to that place.
Yeah,
right?
we had a couple Florida people. We had quite a few people from Georgia. I think we had someone from Louisiana.
Wow.
I forget what the longest distance traveled was, but there were
That's awesome.
quite a few out-of-state players.
And apparently some people from chat.
Indeed. Indeed. I met a couple TAC listeners that had never made it out. One of them who was going to go to CreateCon but had to work that day, so they said to tell you hi, and they were sad they couldn't make it. So.
Well, we were sad too.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Big thanks to everyone who came out for that. But hey, guys, let's talk about week 2 of Karazhan, this week's Hearthstone news. And things aren't working again.
Good news, everyone.
Indeed. Indeed.
Oh, no.
And now it's going to start. Yep, okay. It started playing in the middle of that, but I loved that so much. I'm going to stop it, and we're just going to say that was the bumper. So
There you go. Official bumper.
yeah. So week 2 of Karazhan is here. The opera has come. We have it is in the game. We have beaten it. We, as a matter of fact, all 3 of us beat it on stream together.
This was like the easiest
I would
win of all
argue.
time.
I was
too.
about to say it.
yeah,
I would
of
argue
everything ever.
relatively easily. It was super easy.
Yeah. Even the heroic, apparently, which I haven't done, but a bunch of people came into my chat and were like, yeah, this was just not a challenge. I just wrecked all of it. And when I played it afterwards, when we played it all together, I mean, that was our first time all doing it together. But when I played it afterwards, I think the whole thing took me like 5 minutes at most. And with no special decks created or like just played whatever, just wrecked it.
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like it was like it was disappointing how easy it actually was.
Well, and it was so straightforward. I mean, after the first week, and especially the chess boss or match or whatever you want to call it, like that was so cool and so innovative. And then we got into this one, and it was so straightforward. And I was like, oh, let down.
Well,
I know
there's
extra.
actually some cool mechanics too, and I was disappointed. Like I haven't tried the heroic, Romulo and Julian or whatever, but like that was a cool mechanic in that one, right?
That was that was cool. I really liked the not Wizard of Oz, like the taunt on the right, charge on the left. That was fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, there was cool stuff going on. It just was like, okay, well, you're dead.
I mean, we talked last week. I am now double surprised about chess because we talked last week that we were surprised chess was the final boss of the first wing because in the raid itself, it's the second to last boss. Now I'm extra surprised because that was really unique and it seemed like extremely well crafted. And now week 2, it's just kind of like you guys said, it's extremely straightforward. And after chess, it kind of really points out the fact how straightforward some of these encounters are. It's like if Guns N' Roses opened with "Welcome to the Jungle."
You'd be like, "Yep, saw that coming."
Yeah, it's like, wait, what? Oh, don't you save that till the end, guys? What are you doing?
By the way, they've been playing, and I was so sad that I didn't go see them when we were in Orlando, because they were playing in Orlando.
They were.
We were there for CreateCon.
They were.
Really?
And normally,
You didn't notice like so many people were wearing Guns N' Roses shirts? You thought that was just like, that's how they do in Florida.
Yeah.
when we were enjoying the free beer, which was Coors Light and didn't taste particularly well.
right.
Actually, Jocelyn wasn't there for that, but we saw like 4 dudes dressed up like Slash. None of them
Yeah.
were actually Slash, by the way.
No, unfortunately not. But yeah, it was like surprising, like, because at first I didn't know, and I was like, man, they really love Guns N' Roses down here. Then I realized,
Yeah.
oh, they're playing like right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Fun fact about Orlando, which a lot of people don't know: Guns N' Roses T-shirts are the only T-shirts sold.
It's like it's a state T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Even the Disney shirts, they're Mickey with curly hair and a top hat. Anyways, wow, that went off the rails real quick.
Yeah, I'm coughing because I'm laughing now.
Oh. I was like, Dills got real quiet.
All right. Well, so yeah, opera was it was fun, but it was a little straightforward. If you guys want to go and check out, if you haven't seen it already, the 3 of us did play through the entire wing like we did the week previous, except this time Jocelyn got to join Dills and I, which was awesome. So go to youtube.com/amovetv or go to amove.tv, the website, because we have it posted all over the place. Pretty easy to find. Go check it out. What'd you guys think of the summer preliminaries? Because like I said, I did not get to watch them. So tell me about them, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There was not a lot of surprises as far as decks brought.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody had some sort of a warrior. There was, I guess,
Druid.
yeah, there was a lot of Yogg Druid, a lot of Zoo. I guess some of the interesting stuff people did bring though was there was some people had brought like the Anyfin Paladin, who actually got top 8, and there was some OTK warrior, which we hadn't seen much of in tournaments. And some really interesting matches like OTK warrior versus Freeze Mage. Super weird and interesting dynamic in that matchup. So there was definitely some good play. But the biggest, I guess we could say Teray makes it back in NA. That's pretty good. But guys like Chalky, Terrence, Firebat, and a bunch more like didn't quite make it. But the Yogg thing got stirred up once again. And I know we're not going to like go at it on this show about Yogg anymore, but it's just kind of nuts like how much this is coming up. And I guess my real point about the Yogg thing is I get it, and the people aren't necessarily wrong about Yogg and the randomness that, you know, we have a link in the show notes to the actual clip from the 5-spell Yogg that just like flipped a game. But I mean, I guess when I was watching it, like, I agree that Yogg is crazy and random and maybe shouldn't be in competitive play, but it didn't like ruin the tournament for me. And I felt like there's all these people kind of like doomsaying Hearthstone competitive esports as like dead because of Yogg. I'm just like, man, that was a great tournament to watch. The numbers were fantastic the whole time, super enjoyable. I think it's a little premature to be like calling the game like this is dead game because of Yogg or Team 5 sucks because of Yogg. It's like, you guys aren't necessarily wrong about Yogg, but like, damn, you're going far. Like, that was a really good tournament to watch. That was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this exact conversation happens in at least one esport all the time. Like, this exact conversation is happening somewhere at all times in some esport.
Yeah.
Because we've had this discussion multiple times about Hearthstone now. It's been pretty much going nonstop for the last 6 months for Heroes. It even happened at like Overwatch's launch because they're like, oh no, hero limit, oh Tracer everywhere, dead game. Game wasn't even. We still don't actually have a tournament circuit for Overwatch yet. So you're absolutely. I'm with you, Dills. It's I think it's a. I don't know. It's almost like it's a volume thing. It's overshadowing what was otherwise a really great tournament. Do I think that Yogg is a subpar card? I think so. I don't like it. I have made my views very clear about Yogg Saron. But is it killing the scene? No. Did it ruin the tournament? Probably not. Again, didn't really get to see it.
I mean, look, we have stories to tell from the tournament because of Yogg. So obviously, it's like kind of doing what it's supposed to do, right? Like if you watch a baseball game and the ball bounces funny, you talk about that, right? And that's totally randomness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's generating a lot of conversation. It's not turning viewers off. I think a lot of people who are complaining about Yogg are pro players who, in situations like this, like basically what happened is one player knocked out another player in a game that he should have lost. And he even admitted in his interview after, like, yeah, I should have lost. That really wasn't fair.
Yogg was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
But at the same time, like, it was just a really ridiculously good result that it was like, you know, like 2% chance to get a result like that because he's cast so few spells. And it was, you know, just a Hail Mary at the end, and it ended up working out. And there were plenty of other times that it didn't, but it's making us talk about it. And I think that they're, you know, I'm going to use a hockey analogy because as a Leafs fan, one of the big problems with the Leafs is that for every single fan there is sitting in the stands, no matter how bad the actual game is, there's like 10 people lined up outside who will take their spot, so the Leafs are never going to get any better. There are so many good players in Hearthstone right now that even if every single good player that we know of dropped out, we would still have events and we would still have 50 to 100,000 people watching Twitch. So I really don't think that Yogg is doing anything that's going to kill Hearthstone or kill esports. I think it's generating conversations, which is exactly what Blizzard wants.
I thought you were going to say the problem with the Leafs is that their name is sideways, but that's just in Europe apparently. So the people in the chat are not going to get that because your sign is not showing on the stream. Oh well. No, but so yeah, I think pro players are the ones who really have the most legitimate beef. Because, you know, they play as good as they can, and then it's like, well, and then let's see who wins, right? Because we'll just play this Yogg. And so I understand like that beef, but as a viewer, as a spectator, it's just fun and interesting to kind of see what happens. And when that Yogg with 5 spells flipped the board, you know, I mean, it cast 5 1/1s and then gave them all death rattle, and then almost cleared a zoo board. With 5 spells. Like, that was, like, everybody went nuts, right? Like, the chat went crazy. Everybody watching went crazy. The casters went crazy.
Casters, yeah.
Like, one of those moments that's crazy. And, like, that's the thing to talk about. So, you know, to me, I don't know. I get it. I get it, but, yeah. And the pro players, like, they'll complain, but they're not going to stop bringing Yogg if it's going to win up games, right? So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
If they did ban the card, I wouldn't be mad. I'll say that. If Blizzard said, okay, guys, you can ban Yogg from competitive play, I wouldn't be pissed about that. But I also won't be pissed if they don't.
Yeah, I don't know if I love banning cards. I know that there are 100 other examples of card games that actually ban cards. But I don't know. I think it's a really slippery slope, especially in a game like Hearthstone that has so much RNG. It's like, okay, if you start with Yogg, then, you know, do you start, like, where is that line with the stuff that you stop banning?
Well, that's why Blizzard would have to be the ones doing it, right? But,
oh, yeah, obviously.
But the thing is, like, in Magic, there's ban cards. Like, it's not like something that's broken Magic. Like, oh, where do we stop now? Like, you just ban a few cards that you deem, you know, to be a little bit broken and not fair to other players, right? So... And in a way, it helps bring, like, it helps with, like, just having variety. That's the important thing, right? And if everyone's bringing Yogg Druid, which kind of everyone did, like, is that a problem for variety, right?
Well, I mean, like, they've kind of already got almost rotating bans just with the nature of standard, right? Like, we're only going to have Yogg in competitive play for 2 years. So, you know, like... Is it too early to say? Like, they have so many more expansions and adventures that are still yet to come out during Yogg's lifespan. Like, maybe we don't even have to ban Yogg. Maybe we just have to...
Yogg might just not be that good next expansion. Yeah,
exactly,
sure.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think
agree,
it's
100%.
I know that it definitely feels bad because, you know, the Yogg random happens so late in the game that you've usually expended a lot of your resources and there's really just nothing you can do at that point. Versus some of the other random in the game, like even Barnes, and I think we're going to talk about him later, maybe-ish.
Yeah, strategy section for a second, yeah.
But even then, like, he happens, you know, early-ish to mid-ish game, and you can still usually deal with whatever happens. Versus Yogg,
sometimes.
like, sometimes. We'll probably talk about that Reddit post, too, because, dude, that's ridiculous. But, yeah, like, when you have the resources to deal with it at the beginning, it doesn't feel as bad as getting to turn 10 and then just being like, well, I have 1 card or 2 cards in my hand and there's just nothing I can do now with this totally flip board state.
I'd actually argue that I would prefer late game randomness to early game randomness, because I think like a knife juggler hitting a 1/1 on turn 3 can snowball a game completely out of control, and a card that cost you all of your mana and you had to play a bunch of spells first and you got all the way to turn 10, like that's a card. Like if I know that you're playing Yogg, my plan can be I kill you before you ever Yogg, right? And at least like that's a plan I can put into action. Whereas I cannot plan around you playing a knife juggler and then playing, Unleash the Hounds, and wherever the Hounds go, now I lose. Like that. I can't plan around that, right? It's the RNG thing. It's never going away, guys. So here's the deal: the real bottom line here.
Give it a big hug.
The real bottom line is, if you hate RNG, then Hearthstone ain't the game for you.
Yeah.
And you should probably look into checkers.
There's the door. Just go.
I would
Checkers.
I would argue that you're simplifying a little bit, although I'm enjoying your simplification quite a bit.
Well, a little bit,
but as much as
there is going to be randomness forever. It's very clear that they enjoy it, and the reasons why they put it in is sound. I mean, when you get mana every turn, it's a linear game in that sense. The only RNG is going to be in the cards you draw, and games could just play out the exact same every time, right? There's 0 RNG in the game. It would be like, okay, well, I hope I have my best 1 drop on 1 and best 2 drop on 2 and 3 drop,
Well, I don't think that's necessarily what I don't think it's necessarily what the argument is. I think that's what the opposite end of the pendulum's argument is. If we're looking at the what is the worst case scenario, which is no RNG at all, and you're absolutely right, that would be terrible. But I don't think that's what the vast majority. I think the discussion that I'm seeing is how much RNG is too much.
Sure.
And I agree with you.
How much is too much? Yeah.
I prefer late game RNG to beginning of the game RNG, but does it have to be Yogg level? Why can't it be knife? Why can't it be knife juggler level at turn 10?
I get the feeling that they didn't want it to be as actually good as it turned out to be.
Oh, I agree. And, we even sat here on the show being like, I don't think this card's gonna be that good. Yeah. But we're wrong.
That I thought it was going to be pretty good.
I was going to say, I said I wanted to see the stats.
Yeah. I didn't know it was going to be this good. I didn't know it was going to be like in every single tournament.
In competitive
I thought a few people would find a weird deck that played it. I did not think that there was going to be this many decks that do it. Like we've now seen, like on the ladder, I'm playing, currently I'm playing a Yogg Mage with the Arcane Giants, and it is crushing people. Like it is so good. Because a lot of times when I get to the late game, if I don't have a way to deal with the board, I just play Yogg and boom, draw into my Giants, clear their board. What's up? So, yeah.
Does it make you feel like a bad person a little bit? Because you're making that like face right now.
Not when I'm streaming. I'll tell you what made me feel like a bad person is Priest right now. We'll talk about that later too.
Hey, how many times can you deal with 7 health? How many times, guys? 5, 6 times?
Yeah. How about my turn 4 Ysera? Can you deal with that? How about when I bring it back on turn 5? What up now?
I mean, that's doesn't happen every time, but
that's on the extreme end of the spectrum.
I know. For most people.
But literally happened. I was playing last night, and chat was like, "Put Ysera in." Very next game, Barnes into Ysera. Yeah. Onyx Bishop into Ysera again.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. No, listen, I jokingly tweeted at you the other day, Dills, I think it's, how dare you calmly consider the pros and cons of a subject, in this case, Yogg Saron, which I like quite a bit. You bring up some good points,
Yeah.
I think it's good for esports in the short term. It's only going to be around 2 years. Blizzard could decide to do something about it earlier than that. And again, I think I've already mentioned it on the show. I would really like Yogg to make it to Wild without being touched.
Sure. I think that's a good spot for Yogg,
personally,
sure.
I'm not sure I can take another 1.5 years of this card.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, you might not have to, because we might have a ridiculous replacement in the next expansion.
That too,
and,
but
and to be honest, it's not like that Yogg Druid is like crushing everybody. It just so happened that in this one game, one guy got really lucky, and then everyone lost their minds over that. Like,
well, that's my only point. Like I really like watching that, and we're going to, in 2 years' time when Yogg's gone, It'll be this it'll be a bookmark. Hey, you guys, you remember 2 years ago when that crazy Yogg Saron thing happened? It's something we can talk about, and it helps build the story of Hearthstone, or at least competitive Hearthstone. Whether it's good or bad, it is a good story, and it was entertaining to watch at the time. So that's kind of where I fall. I don't like the card because someone can win
when they shouldn't.
When they technically shouldn't. I know there's people on Twitter who's like, oh, if you win, you'd win, and I'm just like, you're wrong. I just think you're objectively wrong. But that's not the point. The point was, if you play, you could play a perfect game of Hearthstone, do everything right, and by all accounts win that game, and then this card could in theory come down. It just completely flips the board. I do find issue with that at its core at a design level. Is the card fun? Do I want to see it in Wild? Yes. So.
But you can also play a perfect game of Hearthstone and just lose because the other guy just drew better, and that's also RNG. Right?
Absolutely.
That is a good point. You could go round. We could spin round and round on this thing, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about Yogg. But so the thing is, out of the top 8, 5 of the 8 players brought Yogg decks, but 3 players literally did not, and they got to top 8. So it's to me, it's just okay. That's not broken.
Right,
that's good, but not broken.
And the point that you brought up one point ago, which was you could just lose because you drew bad, is the main thing that in my head keeps me from kind of going on this zealotous crusade against Yogg, because you're absolutely right. Card games inherently have RNG. Hearthstone definitely injects more than any other game I can think of off the top of my head, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that's part of what that's part of Hearthstone's identity.
Yeah. So. I could play a perfect poker tournament and then get my aces cracked by kings and lose and be like, man, I lost an 80-20, right? And that's terrible, but that's what happened, and and that's just how card games are always going to be. So like I said, it's if RNG is not your thing, Hearthstone's always going to have at least an element of it. Even if they took out all the RNG cards, they still draw, and that's RNG. So
Yep. And that's what makes poker interesting to watch, and I would argue part of the reason Hearthstone's interesting to watch right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Anything other than Yogg as far as the prelims are concerned?
Well, I mean, just that it was I just really enjoyed the tournament. I thought the casters are really kind of gelling even more than they were before. I love seeing all these new faces and stuff. Obviously, Kibler's fantastic. Frodan and TJ, their chemistry, they should definitely be dating. And shout out to Frank in a Box, who we met at DreamHack, who made it almost to the end after going through the losers bracket, but I was rooting for him hard. He played on stream and made some misplays, and chat went crazy on him, but he's a really good player, and he proved it off stream, and it sucked to have it be he had a bad game on stream and everyone lost their minds. But he's a really good player, so shout out to him as well.
Awesome. Well, before we move in to talking decks, because there are quite a few that have popped up in the wake of Karazhan Week 2, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC who are supporting this podcast here. I almost said this fine podcast, but I would say that's your opinion. I think it's fine. I have a feeling the people to my left and right think it's fine. But if you like the podcast and you want to support us, go to patreon.com/TAC. And check it out. Give however much you would like to. This week, we wanted to thank Ryan B., Lennart H., Dave H., William P., Kevin K., Hayden F., Terry S., and Kenneth N. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. Now, let's talk some new Karazhan decks.
Hit it very hard.
You wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
If you're watching the video version, I had to reinstall Windows again. Bear with me while I get my bearings.
So Chalky's not here? Is what
I
you're
was
saying?
going to say, I got totally excited. I was like, Chalky, what?
Wouldn't that have been awesome? It would have
All
been.
of a sudden he just pops up. He's like, hey, guys, we're going to talk about some decks.
It would have been supremely awesome because Dills and Jocelyn would have been very surprised since nothing was mentioned before the show. Oh, geez. I have to stop and take a moment. You guys are putting such a wonderful smile on my face, and I have been a total grumpy guest today, so thank you guys. So it's week 2 of Kara, guys. A lot of new decks we wanted to talk about. You've already mentioned it a little bit, Dill, so let's start by talking about Giant Tempo Mage.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised to see hot form pull out this deck because he's always been a lover of the Tempo Mage.
Mm-hmm.
But so my version of it is like I just kind of slapped it together, but I've gone something. I have like an 85% win rate with this deck right now, and the only reason I'm like not playing it is because I'm just testing other things. Otherwise, if I was like going for Legend, I would just use this deck. So I think this deck is actually that good.
Makes note.
It's crazy. So he's got a couple things that I don't. He's playing Archmage, and he's playing like Thorison and Barnes and stuff and Malagos. He's doing a little bit of a different thing. I'm just going for like super early game Tempo Mage stuff with the 2 Giants, Yogg, and Flame Strikes. One Flame Strike, 1 Firelands Portal. Just because there's been so many times where like I just need a Flame Strike to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not doing that, but I can see like his version being just as good. Like I just think like this archetype right here is just going to be really strong going forward. Have you guys been running into it on the ladder at all? Like other people playing it?
I think I ran into it once. I haven't been over the weekend again as adminning, so I haven't really been keeping up on decks. The one I was the most interested about that I heard being thrown around the room was Resurrect Priest, so I actually went and looked that up and played it a little bit in between adminning.
Yeah.
So this one was unknown to me, so I went up against a mage once and I was like, oh, okay, it's just Tempo Mage for Tempo Mage's sake, and down came Arcane Giant. I'm like, oh yeah, that came out this week.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, Tempo Mage has these insane openers, right? Where you like Mana Worm into Sorcerer's Apprentice, Arcane Blast, like, or I'm using the Cult Sorcerer, and you can Arcane Blast for 4 and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like you control the early game so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you can just drop free giants at the end, right? It's crazy.
Plus, there's that new 1-drop that's so freaking frustrating. It's the opposite of the Mana Worm, where its health grows, and
yeah,
it just
I'm not
sticks
playing
for
that one.
freaking ever.
Yeah, I'm not playing that one, but that card has. There's been a few games where that card has done serious work against me.
Ugh.
Because if you don't kill it right away, suddenly you're just like, well, that's going to hit me for 2 damage every turn for the rest of my life. Like,
or just like kill all of my little early game stuff that I'm trying to make stick, because then it just basically like heals because they just keep casting their little spells, and then it just gets its health back. And you're just like,
yeah.
Grr!
You're
I will say this though, it is a difficult deck to pilot. I don't think that this is going to be one of those decks that it's not like Zoo where everyone can just pick this deck up and just run off and hit Legend with it. There's a lot of tricky turns, and there's a lot of turns where you need to like wait to get full value out of some of these cards, like in 2 more turns. You know, instead of just like dumping Flame Waker on the board, you know, hold Flame Waker and then like go off with it on turn 5 and like, you know, create this kind of board state that they can never come back from and things like that. Or there's weird things too, like that, you know, if it's turn 3 and nothing has happened and there's nothing on the board, it's actually correct to just Forgotten Torch their face. Because you put a Roaring Torch into your deck, you create a spell for Arcane Giant and Yogg. It's correct, and it's a thing that you've been told forever. Like, no, don't just cast spells on their face. Like, just don't do that. Save it for removal. But
yeah, someone did that to me, and I was just like, "What are you doing?
yeah,
that is not how you
think you're gonna kill me? I'm at 27, homie."
Exactly.
But yeah, but it's actually the correct play. It's like you use your mana efficiently. You essentially put a fireball into your deck, and you make your Arcane Giants 1 mana cheaper. Like it's actually right. So yeah, there's some weird plays with this deck. I just find it super fun too. I mean, Firelands Portal is a gross card sometimes. When you kill something with 5 health that was tough to kill, like let's say you kill an Emperor Thorison with this, and then you summon an Earth Elemental, it's like you just win. You just win the game. It's not bad. And then if they kill the Earth Elemental, you're like, what up, Arcane Giants? You know, so, yeah, good deck. Super good deck.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try this. I love the idea of going Fates with a spell being the right thing to do. And chances are, Jocelyn, that Arcane Giant probably came down later, and you probably didn't then think, oh, that's why they hit me in the face on turn 3. You're at the time probably just going, damn it, there's a giant coming at me from a mage.
Yeah, you can't think about anything else.
Actually, I was playing a version of Death Rattle Hunter, and I had 2 infested Taurens on board, so I was kind of like, yeah, go for it.
Ooh.
Try to hit my face now. Yeah.
And then
So
I just Nizoth, and I was like,
you know what I really want to try with this Arcane Giant is I really want to go into Wild, and I want to play like the old school Echo Giants, but with Arcane Giants.
Ooh.
Because you can make them super cheap. You can have your ice blocks up, and then you can echo them and play more of them, and it just seems like that would be super fun.
I wonder how often that would work out, or if you'd find yourself more often than not getting the echo too late, and you haven't cast enough spells to make them cheap enough to actually be worth it.
It used to work really well with the back in the day they played what's the one that gets cheaper when you take damage that no one uses anymore?
The Molten
Giants. Back in the day, they used to use Molten Giants. They just waited until they took a lot of damage.
Yeah, but your health was always...
You cast a bunch of spells anyway while you were doing that, right? Because that was what you did. You were basically a super control-heavy deck. So all you did was try to clear their board all the time with removal spells. And I'm pretty sure you could make these 0 mana and then have Ice Block up and play 6 Giants. Say what up. Yep.
Yeah, all right.
I'm gonna give it a go. I'll see how it works. I haven't been playing as much Wild. I started this season all gung ho about getting Legend and Wild, and then I was like, oh, but then Kara came out, and I want to play all the decks. So
I did.
Yeah, I'm rank 7 in both Wild and Standard. It's super weird.
I'm having the worst season I think ever. I'm losing a lot of games. I'm also trying out a lot of new decks.
If you're trying new stuff, it's gonna happen.
And for whatever reason, I have this hair up my bum where I'm just like, no, I'm always playing rank, no matter what, always. And it's not working out, guys. It's not working out at all.
You should, go for it.
But it definitely encourages me to learn this deck faster. But I did something weird without looking up anything. Because we've been playing around with Yogg and Load, Dills, and now I'm kind of into it because it's very fun to play. And Barnes has come out, and I was thinking to myself, what about Barnes and the Gadgetzan Auctioneer and Yogg and Load?
Hell yeah!
And I tried it, and it does work.
Yeah,
too much work. Be very, very careful, guys, when you have Gadgetzan Auctioneer on the board and you pop Lock and Load, because you're going to add 2 cards to your hand with every spell that you cast.
Yeah.
I
got to watch out for that one.
Didn't think that far ahead, but I was just so happy that Barnes gave me a Gadgetzan Auctioneer instead of Yoxaron, that I was like, yeah, it happened, and I have Lock and Load in my hand. Let's do this. And then I'm like, oh, crap, 10 cards. So...
Then you burn Yogg. You're like, oh no!
I ended up having to use. I think I ended up getting an Arcane Shot off of the Lock and Load. So I Arcane Shot my 1/1 Gadgetzan Auctioneer to kill it, just so I could stop drawing cards.
Yeah.
Smart. It was.
Never go full Gadgetzan.
No,
by the way, that is one of the things that you have to manage that with this. At least with my, I don't know about Hot Form's version, but my version of this Mage deck, I found myself always having to be counting my cards, which is so weird in a tempo deck. Usually with a tempo deck, you're out of cards, and you're just praying that you top deck something good. But I was constantly full because of Kabbalist Tomes and Arcane Intellect and stuff. I just was never out of cards with this deck, which was kind of cool too. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about Resurrect Priest, shall we? Because it's been quite the hot topic this week. If you're watching the video version, we have Tice's deck list up on the stream. And I have very mixed feelings about this deck, guys. So I'm interested to see what you have to say.
Well, his version, I'm just taking a look at it. So he's got the Akonai Circle. He's got the double pain, double death.
Yep.
Running the double. So a lot of this is similar. My version is not running the Loot Hoarders and the Wild Pyros, but I can see why you would.
I was going to ask you about that. The Pyromancers seem to be working out for me. The Loot Hoarders seem to be a terrible liability.
Yeah. Well, I guess in his mind, what he's doing here is these aren't terrible to get with Resurrect because they're essentially getting 2 drops for 2, right? So they're fine. The Pyromancer also goes off when you res it with Resurrect. So you res, the Pyro comes off, and then you get the 1 damage. So you got to be careful of that. But so my version, I just don't have the lowest minion I have is Blade Master because I just want to get really good stuff with my Resurrects, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why I'm conflicted because when I get Blade Master, this deck it's insane.
So the dream draw is coin Blade Master or just Blade Master Circle or something like that on 3. You actually don't even mind. I've played into a Warrior's Fiery War Axe, just Blade Master. Boom, kill it. Go for it.
Yep, I have to.
Because next turn you res it, and it's a 4/7, right? So
If you have Resin
res it
Hand
again and again and again.
or if you have Onyx Bishop, that's totally
Yeah.
okay. Onyx, it depends on what turn you are if you're thinking about Onyx Bishop, but you're absolutely right. Turn 2 with the coin and a circle is amazing. Turn 3 without the coin, still great.
Yeah.
But that is the issue I'm having with the deck. Is it kind of like Yield in Days of Dragon Priest? It was like, well, man, if you draw right, holy crap, is this deck a force to be reckoned with? But if you draw poorly with this deck, oh my god, it is hard to catch up.
So I've got double Excavated Evil. I've got the circles and the Akanai, but I also threw in a single Embrace the Shadow, just to give me one. Because the problem I was having was if I went up against like a Zoo deck, if I don't clear the board, I need to get that one big board clear at some point. And if I can't draw the Akanai and the circle or the Excavated Evil, it's like I just can never actually get there. Because I can always, once I can clear the board once, it's like then I res a 4/7, and I just have this ability to fight back on the board so easily from that point on. But you just have to get there. So I went with the one Embrace the Shadow, which actually also gave me like kind of miracle reach in a few spots. Like I was able to Embrace the Shadow and like double flash heal people to finish them off and things. And I also put in Ysera because just for the lulz. I mean, it's too good to Barnes. Barnesing Ysera is like the most insane thing. So I actually had a game. The first game I put Ysera in, I Barnes Ysera on turn. I coined out Barnes and got Ysera. He like killed Ysera, and then I res as the first creature that's died the game, and then I res. Here comes Ysera again. He finds a way to kill it again.
4/12, right?
Yeah, 4/12. He finds a way to kill it again.
So gross.
And then I Onyx Bishop on turn 5 and pull another Ysera. So turn 3, 4, and 5, I played Ysera. And then I actually drew Ysera and played it from my hand later in the game. It was nuts. And
I'm surprised there was a later in the game at that point.
All right.
Pretty sure if I had been your opponent, I would have.
He was
just been like,
playing.
Screw this.
I think he was playing Reno Lock or something like that. So he had lots of ways to deal with stuff. But yeah, it was pretty disgusting.
All right. Well,
I see someone in chat say put Yashiraj in. Yeah, but the problem with Yashiraj is like that'll happen sometimes, but most of the time you just have to play Yashiraj out of your hand, and yeah, it's not that good.
Yeah.
So like Ysera is still like fine as just a 9-drop, like a card you just play. So I have like Rag, Ysera, Sylvanas. Most of the cards I can pull with the Resurrect and the Barnes and stuff are pretty good, and that's kind of where I was headed with the deck. So
yeah,
I bet his version is better against Zoo though.
I am, Tice. I'm sorry, man. One of my favorite pros, arguably my favorite. But Dills, I need your deck list. I need it. This sounds too good.
Incoming deck list.
This
yes.
sounds too great.
I'll give it. I'll put it in chat as well for everybody.
So, I know in the notes it's after the Death Rattle Hunter talk, but I think we should talk about Barnes now because of the effect he's having on the game. Dude, Barnes is just incredible in many scenarios, and in the other scenarios he's okay. He's fine.
Like that's the thing about Barnes is that at his worst he summons a minion that does nothing, but you still get a 3/4 and a 1/1. Which you could say is Yeti stats, but sometimes there's an advantage to it being 2 bodies. Sometimes it's a disadvantage, right? Like, obviously they can just ping the 1/1 off, and then you've got only a 3/4. But, sometimes, like, having 2 bodies means you get 2 attacks with it next turn. So, and it's not, you can't just fireball it, right? You can't just fireball the Yeti and it's gone. You have to kill the 3/4 and then still kill the 1/1. So, even at his worst, he's just a fine card, right? Like, you can just almost put this in any deck and just say, yeah, it's fine on turn 4. It's just fine. I think people get hung up on making sure they get good Barnes results, and so they stop building a good deck, and all they're doing is just putting in nothing but, like, these Death Rattle minions or, Thorisons or whatever. But I really think it's like, just build your deck the way you would, and then put Barnes in.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll get Ragnaros, and sometimes you won't.
When I started running away with my wild dreams of putting Auctioneer in my Yoggenload Hunter, for a second there I was like, well, do I want to put Yogg in? Do I just want to make it just this crazy spell? Well, of course I do. Yes, there's a chance Barnes will give me a 1/1 Yogg, which is useless. But
it's not like
worth
it
the
takes
risk.
you out of it doesn't take it out of the deck,
Yeah,
right?
it's not
so,
negative.
yeah, it's just exactly.
It just happens. Yeah, it doesn't literally pull the card out of your deck
Yeah.
and play it as a 1/1.
Yep.
It's a copy of it. You still have that card in your deck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I sat there alone, because I didn't have you two to talk to, and it was just like, yeah, no, of course I still put Yogg in. It's ridiculous. Why wouldn't I? It's worth
that's
the risk.
thing. It's like if a minion is a good minion for your deck, and it would suck if Barnes pulled it, it still doesn't suck. And I think that's what people need to realize. Like, it just because Barnes didn't pull the best minion out of your deck, it still was fine, right? So
Yep.
But the thing is like sometimes on turn 4, like I said, he plays Ysera and you get a dream card. Sometimes he plays Ragnaros. Sometimes you Bran and he plays double Ragnaros. Sometimes, you know what I mean? There's definitely some crazy situations that could happen. So is Barnes a problem? Is, I guess, the question, because I don't know if he is yet. But he wasn't allowed at the tournament, right? So we
Right.
haven't seen him in tournament play yet.
Well, yeah, the whole wing wasn't allowed, so it wasn't like they were specifically like no Barnes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
the
you.
wing had just come out, and
Thank you
It
for
was
specifying.
comes out Thursday. The tournament's on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's- yeah, too
exactly.
quick turnaround.
That was a big question actually in the chat room leading up. Like, hey guys, so Wing 2 definitely not allowed, right? Correct. And then they had a little asterisk that was unless discovered, because there's nothing. And the
You can't do anything. about
the
that,
unwritten
yeah.
text was because there's nothing we can really do about that, guys.
Yeah.
Um,
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, do you think that this card is potentially like a Yogg type of problem? Because I guess
This-
for me, it coming out on turn 4 might be before you can actually deal with what it does, right? So
More or less, well, within reason. You get something kind of, you can get something ridiculous. You can get 8 damage out of a Ragnaros. You can get a dream card out of Ysera, but it's still a 1/1 that you can get rid of, so you can minimize your damage. This is the kind of RNG that I really like. You have a lot of player agency in this RNG because it is directly based off of the cards that you put in your deck, and I like that a lot, and I want to see more of it, as a matter of fact.
all right. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I can't find a reason to say for sure, definitely, that it's just a negative card for the game. But yeah, I mean, when I get Ysera and then I res Ysera on turn 4, and I put a 4/12 onto the board on turn 4, like that felt pretty bad. And like you guys can go check out my YouTube channel. I actually put this game, not the Ysera game, but I put like the first game I played with the Res Priest on, like, after I played against the Res Priest, and I was like, oh my god, this deck, okay, I'm gonna go make it. And then I played, and then the next game was the most disgusting game of Hearthstone I think I've ever played. Like, literally at the end of the game, I like felt gross. Like I feel so bad for the guy I just played against. And yes, I was smiling ear to ear, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it was
You
just
can
kinda
still
like,
feel
ugh.
bad, yeah.
Yeah, it was like
real
I can't
deep
believe
down.
that was a thing I could do. Like, so.
So is this the one that had? I saw you post a video yesterday. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but you, sir, it was the most delightful. It was clickbait, just beauty, because it was Nerf Priest, please, I
Yeah,
believe.
Priest OP, please nerf.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh God, if that isn't clickbait, I don't know what is. But dude, it was artistry
You get
on
those
display.
juicy YouTube views.
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man, just a beautiful title. Just.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, go check it out. We all got so hung up on Purify, right, that we didn't stop to think about Onyx Bishop and what he actually means. I think Priest is going to be like a literally viable deck again based on those cards.
I think so too. And it's fun to play. As rage-inducing as it can be for me when I draw poorly, boy, when things work out, is it fun.
Yeah.
And as always, it's Priest. There's always these weird plays, especially if you have Wild Pyromancer in it. I've had times where I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh my god, if I resurrect right now and get a Wild Pyromancer, this just shifts everything in my favor. Is it worth the risk? What's my backup play if that doesn't happen? And I kind of enjoy getting in those positions, mentally.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing because if you keep tabs on what's died in the game, you kind of have a range that like, okay, 66% chance to pull this and 33. So okay, is res good here? Do I need to maybe like try to play more of my good minions and have them die first? Like, it's an interesting dynamic. I think there is a lot of skill to playing this deck properly. But yeah, it's also a deck that can literally just snowball out of control too.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A quick science question. I don't know if any of us know the answer to. And this obviously could have been a question a lot earlier on since Resurrect's been around for a while. Does it increase your chances to resurrect a minion if it has died more than once?
yeah, each time a minion dies, it's literally counts as it dying.
So it's added to an invisible graveyard we cannot see.
Yeah, so like let's say you res, like if you play Injured Blade Master,
Yep.
and then you res Injured Blade Master,
Yep.
and then that Injured Blade Master dies, you
Yep.
now have 2 Injured Blade Masters in
Cool.
your graveyard.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
Alrighty. Now I want...
My first version of this deck too, by the way, was also playing N'Zoth because I was like, if I'm resing stuff, I should just play N'Zoth, right? That's the ultimate like res my stuff card, and it was okay that way too. So I think there's like a bunch of different ways you can build this deck out, which is kind of fun.
How many Death Rattles are in here? Not that many.
I mean, I was playing more Death Rattles in my version.
Okay.
But
Gotcha. I'm
yeah.
like, isn't it just Shifting Shade? But and Sylvanas.
So I was playing double Shifting Shade, Sylvanas, Cairn, and Loot Hoarders.
Gotcha.
So that's plenty of Death Rattles.
Gotcha.
That was like the first version I did.
Very
I
cool.
think this version is stronger though. The one I just linked to chat and I linked to you. I think this version, it's definitely more fun for me anyway.
Yeah. Well, Jocelyn, let's pass it over to you because you have been playing Death Rattle Hunter. Specifically, you actually you're using an altered version of Jab's Death Rattle Hunter. If you're watching the live stream, what we have up is just Jab's Death Rattle Hunter. This isn't the Jocelyn spin on it. I almost said Jocelyn flavored, and that just sounded weird in my head, so I didn't say that.
Clearly, we had to say it out loud.
Exactly. So, hey, man.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't seen Jab's version. The version that I saw was over on Hearthpwn, and they're actually significantly different, I think. So the one I was running actually had N'Zoth in it and Princess as well and Barnes and everything else. And I'm having a lot of fun. And to the point that I'm still playing Hunter on ladder, which I feel like at this point is almost like there's no point. I have my 500 wins. I'm obviously level 60. I'm just like, why am I even playing this class right now? I should be leveling something else up or working towards another 500 golden hero or something. But this is so freaking fun. And it's just I was getting really, really frustrated previously because, especially against control-y stuff like warriors and priests, I'm just like, oh man, I can't stick anything to the board. And then, we get this whole death rattle thing and, the Kindly Grandmother. Oh my God, I love that card so much. She is so much fun. Or I guess the wolf. I don't even know what he is. So much fun. the cross-dressing wolf. Anyway, thumbs up.
Yeah, I think this deck is definitely really strong because it's so hard to clear. So I just kind of go to Jab for all things Hunter because he's just like the guy who kind of figures it all out, and that's his class. So that's why I grabbed his. But I just had built my own, and it just works. It just does. It's just you play, and everything you play just sucks for the other guy to deal with. Mm-hmm. And then you Barnes out like an infested wolf, and you're just like, yeah, what up, dude? Free beast, And
well, that's the thing. There really isn't a problem in Hunter when you've got Barnes because everything in this deck pretty much I think has
nothing bad to pull except King's Elec. I think is the only thing.
And even then, I wasn't playing King's Elec,
and it's
so
a beast. So at
yeah.
least it's still a beast,
But yeah, I wasn't even playing King's Elec, so I was pulling things like Savannah Highmanes, and then all of a sudden I've got 2 2/2s that are beasts, and it just everything that I was pulling was helping me out in one way or another. I mean, I had Sylvanas and Cairn and N'Zoth, and even then I never actually pulled N'Zoth from Barnes, which is one of the only potential downsides, but even then it's still an extra 1/1 on board. And no matter what my opponents were doing, because I had so many death rattles and so much token generation and so much beast synergy, it was just they could never actually clear my board. And even in cases when they did, I just loaded it back up with 2 or 3 more minions that generated more minions. And
then you just Call of the Wild.
And then you Call of the Wild, yeah.
Cry. Yeah, that card is just so gross.
Yeah, and especially even if they can somehow deal with Call of the Wild once or twice, then you have N'Zoth to back that up, and then you're bringing back Savannah Highmanes and Infested Taurens, and I felt bad for my opponents. I think I played probably for 45 minutes, and I think I went up 3 ranks.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I was just like, win streak, win streak, win streak, win streak. Like, why do I even play before the 20th of the season?
Yeah. So my version didn't have the exact stuff that he has. I think I had a single freezing trap in there too, because you are running an eagle horn bow. But yeah. I mean, there's lots of different ways to build this deck out too. I mean, definitely you can go with the N'Zoth. You can go with just Death Rattling Minion, like and Sylvanas and all that kind of stuff. You can for sure go that way, because Hunter is just like inherently going to be aggressive. And when you have the aggressive start that you have with Fiery Bats, Kindly Grandmothers, Huge Toads, and the Animal Companion, you're just always going to feel like the pressure's on them, right? You just continue to apply it, and whittle their health down. It's all like the Hunter's always going to kind of work like that. And this is just a new way to kind of do the same old thing.
And that
totally
it was
good.
Yeah, it was great too, because I never felt bad about using my minions to clear the board. Sometimes I was even like, please play something so I can, pop my Kindly Grandmother. Like, just okay, that sounded
But if they
a lot weirder.
though, you just keep hitting them for one. Like, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You heard it here
so,
first.
They have
like,
to react.
It becomes their decision. Like, do I want to just keep this 1/1 that's constantly hitting me in the face, or do I want to pop it and then have a 3/2 and have to deal with that as well? So, it's just protecting from a lot of things, like wild pyro combos that some of the paladins and stuff are playing now, and just so many people are playing things that clear the first half of your minions. And if you can just keep that token generation going, oh, it's so good.
Man, I'm definitely going to be. This is the first deck I'll be trying out after this. With the luck I've been having on ladder, I'm ready to win consistently a little bit. It sounds good. And Jocelyn, I'm so sorry people don't want to murder your grandmother. Sounds like you're really beat up over that.
My kindly grandmother.
Yes, you're kind, and she's kind. I mean,
yes.
I mean, she looks like a rabid wolf.
Well, she's kindly.
Yes.
The ly gives you some room for interpretation, is what you're saying, Dills?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, awesome. Well, if you're listening audio version, there's always a link to the show notes in the episode post, and we always have the deck list in the show notes. Had some comments again last week where folks were like, "Where's the deck list?" And there's been a link at the very bottom of every single episode post since episode 1. That's where they always are. That's where they always will be. And sometimes when you try and open up the Google Drive link on a mobile device that you have set up to open everything into the Drive app, it doesn't let you in. There's nothing we can do about that. So open it up in a browser to help out with all of those issues. So PSA, that's how you get into the show notes. Any closing thoughts before we move on to Crazy Game Stories? No? Cool.
Just excited for next week.
Yep.
More decks.
Well, wonderful.
There's a few decks that I want to try, but can't really yet, right? So Burgle Rogue is still missing a card, and
Mid-range Beast Druid. Oh, so good.
I want Discard Lock to get even better.
Discard Lock's still really good already, but
I know.
Will be insane.
I'm looking forward to it, man, because I've been getting a lot of Warlock quests, and I've been having trouble making Zoo work right now. There's a lot of rough matchups out there for Zoo right now.
Just hit face, man. Disco Lock.
Yeah, go.
Day.
Well, let's take a Crazy Game Story.
The whole world gone crazy.
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your Crazy Game Stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com, and this one comes to us from Slum Diggity. Oh, you win the name game. Wait, look at emails. Yeah, you win the name game. Slum Diggity writes, "Dear Brain Fried Kentucky Frieds." Frieds? Okay. Would you believe me if I told you I put the dream into action today? No? Well, let's get into it. I was playing Rogue against a weird Reno N'Zoth mage when I encountered it. I had just sprinted and got Bran and Shadow Step with Conceal in my hand going into turn 5. Then I top-decked Barnes and knew this game was over. I played Bran and concealed him. Then, turn 6, I played Barnes. Shadow Stepped him, then Barnes again, making 4 Blood of the Ancient Ones and then 2 Ancient Ones. The mage polymorphed 1, rest in sheep, and frostbolted the other. He could not hide for very long, though, because 2 turns later, I assassinated his taunt and smashed him in the face for the final 30 damage. I will be your death! Well met. Signed, Slum Diggity. Holy crap. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen. This is the Barnes dream, right? So, like I was saying, when we first saw Barnes, what kind of went through my head was playing these decks that only have specific minions in them, right?
Mhm.
And then everything else is like removal spells, and this was definitely one of the ideas. Turns out, though, you just put them in every deck. So.
Yeah, he just kind of works. But there's also really fun theme decks you can make.
Yes, absolutely. Like the Malagos stuff you could do. There's all sorts of stuff, man.
It's insane. It's absolutely nuts. I'm really happy he's in the game. I like Barnes. Bring me more Barnes-like cards, please. So,
I'm just excited that people are making ancient ones now.
I
That
know.
just makes me
Finally.
real happy.
Well,
yeah.
They're making them with significantly less effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were getting
It used to have to actually try. Back in my day,
back in my day 1 month ago, you had to really try to get out an ancient one.
wait till turn 10 to get your
Yeah.
ancient one on the board. Now you dang kids just do it on turn 4. What is that?
Think you're so fancy.
And you only got one ancient one, and it would get hexed, and you would cuss.
And we liked it.
And then we went outside to play with our wooden ring with a stick. So, enjoy
in the
that.
snow. Sorry.
Oh.
In the snow, uphill, both ways.
Yeah, uphill both ways in the snow.
And our ball was a rock. Oh, fantastic. Well, let's round this out with an email or two before we get a little too comfortable on our porch.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
You know, the bumpers are working now, but I don't like them as much as Dills' rendition of a bumper. Makes me kind of sad. So, emails, you can send to the same place, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first email today comes from Chemdork, who says, "Hi, aggravated Gallus domesticus. A few times on the show, the topic of our frustrations with a ladder system has come up on the show." He said on the show twice in the same sentence.
Sorry, I didn't edit that one enough.
That's fine. My brain. Among some of the points of discussion and venting invariably include how the current ladder seems to measure time played more than a person's genuine skill at the game. Thinking about that a bit more, I would like to posit? Not familiar with that word. One very simple question to you. How do you measure someone's skill at playing Hearthstone? I doubt the answer is very simple, but would love to hear your thoughts.
I think this is really the thing that even Team 5 is really struggling with. Like, how do you actually measure that? Because, like there's the balance of time versus skill and how much weight you want to give that on a ladder. And then it's like, well, if we just want to reward skill, like how do you even go about measuring that? Because there's so much RNG. And I don't even know.
Well, it's just
I don't
win
know
rate.
if it's
Because
Yeah.
like RNG is there, yes, but a better player should technically like have the percentage is going to be something like 5% or something like that, right? So like a pro player should win like 65% with a deck you're winning 60% with, right? So like things like that. It's the measurement is actually pretty small. But there was a point that someone made about Kalento used to win like 70% of his pro games or something, and now he's only winning 58% or something. And a lot of people started talking about that. Like, is the problem like, did Kalento get worse, or did the field get better? And I think what's happened is that, you started to see now we've all kind of met in the middle. At the beginning of the ladder, the version we have now, there was a definite difference between, say, rank 17 and Legend. And now I notice that no matter where I am on the ladder, people aren't making that many mistakes. And the decks they're playing seem to be pretty meta. And it's like there's just more people who know how to play well. So at this point, I think how do you measure someone's skill? It's in small percentage points with win rate with certain decks. That's really it. Like if you play the same deck as someone and you win a little bit more, you're better. Right?
But
I think that's a really big problem, I think, though, because we can't just generate a ladder based on who has the best win rate, because then it stops people from doing things like experimenting and trying new things and building new decks and, just in general having fun with the game. Because if you just have to sit there and make sure you constantly have the highest win rate, like, do you just watch the leaderboard, and when you drop to number 2, then you play a game and hope you win to get that bit of a percentage back again?
Well,
like
that's what
that
people are doing
doesn't seem
now.
fun.
I was about to say
so.
That's what they're doing in the legend ranks.
because it still kind of comes down to win rate because it is such a massive time sink. You should be focusing on your win rate. More so than you should be on how fast the deck is, which is a point we brought up many, many times, which is just like, no, don't just play Face Hunter because it's fast. If you're bad at Face Hunter, if you don't know the deck, you're going to lose more than you're going to win, and you're not going to climb the ladder
And
as
that's
fast.
not faster.
Exactly. Now, granted,
The thing is you can't look at overall win rate. You just can't. Like Jocelyn, like you said, sometimes you're going to be testing a new deck, and you're going to be testing it on the ladder, and your win rate's going to suck. It's when you literally have this, like, if you gave a bunch of pros the exact same list and then had them all go out into the wild, you still wouldn't even know 100% because they'd play against different opponents, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, one guy might just luck into better opponents. Like, there's literally no 100% sure way to just say, this guy's definitely better, this guy's definitely better. And
what if
part
we had
of
a
that,
Face
like-
Hunter ladder and then a Control Warrior ladder?
Yeah,
and
but see, like, you just get ridiculous where you start trying to take all the variables out. But
And
the
I-
thing is, that's the same with anything. Like, you know, people can make arguments about who they think is better at basketball, Steph Curry or friggin' LeBron James, and they have arguments, right? And, like, you can't say 100% because they're two completely different players who play completely different types of games, and that's the fun of it, right? So it's like we don't need to know exactly who's the best. We just need to know who's pretty good, and then we can all talk about it.
I agree. And I think all the points we're bringing up is kind of the reason we've backed off of the ladder discussion as of late, because the more we've had this discussion and the more we've talked about it with our community through emails, through Twitter, conversations at BlizzCon and other things, it's extremely difficult. What is the correct way? We don't have an answer, and it doesn't seem like Team 5 does either. They seem pretty happy with the system that they have in now. It's not terrible. It's definitely been made better. I still think ranked chests were a fantastic inclusion. But
I think they know there's room for improvement, but they also know that there's no perfect system out there, right? So you just try to make it as good as you can, you know. But like when you watch sprinting, and you see Usain Bolt like way ahead of everybody else, like, okay, that guy's better. But with Hearthstone, it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, if you go on the
really gonna know.
If you go on the ladder with milkshake deck and you're not winning as much as usual, how does the system know that you're losing because of the deck rather than because of your own personal skill?
Exactly.
Building a system that actually is able to evaluate that correctly, I don't even know how you would go about beginning to build that system.
That's like I don't think that they should be trying to build that exact system either. I think they should just be trying to build one that rewards, people doing what they want to do, right? So if you want to grind out and you want to get to the very top, you get rewarded for that. And if you want to just have fun, you get rewarded for that. Like I think that's the proper system, right?
Yeah,
it's something that everybody can play the way they want to and feel like they're doing something productive.
I still wouldn't mind, other than now we have loot chests or ranked chests. I still wouldn't mind slightly longer seasons.
Sure.
I've again calmed down on that because of loot chests, and I want more. I want to get those ranked chests more frequently. Had they not included that, and we were still just with card backs, I would have definitely been along the lines of just make it longer. We have enough card backs. You're saturating the game with card backs. I don't care that much anymore. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a little bit of a longer season.
3-month seasons with a championship at the end and a content release at the beginning. Yes.
Oh man, dude, that sounds so great, but Team 5 would have to be consistent and actually inform us of their plans.
Yeah.
They have to put stuff out every single 3 months. Yeah, that would be.
And they might actually
So
have
good,
to start,
right?
Yeah,
It's a world I would love. It's a world I don't think they're going to deliver, sadly.
Aw.
So, Dills, next email.
Yeah, this one comes from Zach, who says, "Good day, my." Oh, by the way, Gallus domesticus is just the name for chicken.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we've gotten
Good day,
that one
my
before.
ferocious feathered friends. Do you think we could ever see legendary spells or weapons in Hearthstone? And if so, what would you choose as your example of one? Thunder Fury? Keep up the great work from a fan from the future in Australia, apparently. Well, we kind of have a legendary weapon, right? With Medivh coming in.
That's
little
true.
bit.
I didn't think of him.
Atiesh is kind of a legendary weapon. I don't know. I think they're gonna stick with this whole legendaries are minions thing probably forever and ever, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, because we've seen things that could potentially be legendary weapons, right? Like Doomhammer is the one that comes to mind, like
Yeah, and it's
right
just
off the top, and it's
Exactly.
epic, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't. Thunder Fury, that's a WoW thing, right?
Yes, that was the first ever legendary weapon you could get.
Ah, okay, because I think there was like a year or two ago, for doing something, there was an event or something, and you got like an inflatable one, and I was like, I don't get the joke.
Oh my gosh, Jocelyn. Hasn't seen Indiana Jones, doesn't get Thunder Fury references. You're lucky you're an exceptionally pleasant
Wait, you
person to be
haven't
around.
seen the Crystal Skull, right? But you've seen all the other ones?
No, I've actually seen.
What the hell is happening right now?
Thank you, Dills! Thank you! On the last
Stop
Embrace
the
the
show
Spoilers.
and go watch all of the original Indiana Jones movies right now.
I've seen bits and pieces of the one
No.
with Sean Connery.
No,
and I
that's not
couldn't
how it
make
works.
it through the one with the really like annoying blonde woman.
All right, I will give you this. Temple of Doom is only good if
That's the problems. Yeah.
if you saw it when you were 6 years old. That's the only way Temple of Doom will stick in your head is anything good.
I think I was about
enjoy
25 and I had to turn it off. I
But-
couldn't watch.
Raiders.
still enjoy monkey brains and grabbing people's hearts out of their chests and all that. Like I still enjoy all that stuff. From the
Yes,
movie.
but you were probably like 6 years old when you saw it, as was I. So I look back on it very fondly. But
that's-
Raiders and Last Crusade are two of the best adventure films ever made. Literally, log off Skype now and go watch them.
Yeah.
Sorry. This came up on Embrace the Spoilers, and I actually screamed.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I was scared.
So,
Through the internet, I was
Flabbergasted right
scared.
now. I'm literally flabbergasted. I have no words.
Yeah.
At least I've
Just
seen
like a
Star
Canadian
Wars.
thing, you just don't see it because
It was just I don't know.
there's
I
Canadian
just
version
missed
of
it.
the movie. Okay.
My parents weren't big movie people. I didn't see Star Wars till I was in my 20s either. I just
What the world?
okay, you know that.
You seek that out though. All right.
Yeah. My parents don't like Star Wars, but I still watched the living crap out of it when I was a kid. So
Well, but,
no
like,
excuse.
I knew the reason I didn't seek it out is because I already knew the whole plot of the movie because of just pop culture stuff.
Doesn't matter.
There's actually a pretty funny video on YouTube of a guy who's really into Star Wars and his girlfriend who's never seen it, and she just describes what she thinks the plot is. Without ever having seen it, and it's pretty funny.
I have
You
not
guys
seen this. I will have
go
to.
look at that,
Please find that link and send it to me.
yeah. It's pretty awesome.
I'm not sure what to Google search for that. Like guy's girlfriend explains Star Wars.
I think that's pretty much it. I think that will
Okay.
work.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. Because we have Doomhammer as an epic, I'm not sure we'll ever see legendary weapons. But in terms of spells, they'd have to be nuts.
Yeah, I don't know
man.
like what legendary spells you could reference in WoW, and I guess you don't have to necessarily, but I don't know. I think the legendary minions is just fine because
Yeah.
a lot of times they have an effect that is similar to
Yeah,
a spell.
Yogg Saron is basically a legendary spell.
Yeah, he
Well, that's
generally
kind of what
like
it
he
would have to
usually
be,
dies
right?
too when you play him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
It's not
You're
even
right.
there at the end.
But the effect continues. So, and yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Yogg Saron is a legendary spell. So
Yeah,
And we
I don't
don't
know.
need more of that.
that
Yeah,
said,
I think we're fine without it. If they put it in, sure.
I'd love to see Frostmourne at some point. But that would also mean seeing a Death Knight class, which I don't
Death
think
Knight
we're
would
going
have
to
to have
see
it first,
anytime
yeah.
soon. I think my child, who will eventually take over as one of the hosts on this show, will probably be talking about the Death Knight in Hearthstone after I'm long and dead.
By the way, Doomhammer is not technically a legendary anyway, right?
Well, no, but
It's an artifact weapon.
Yeah, it's an artifact. It's like an iconic weapon.
Like
so
Ashbringer is not technically.
Ashbringer, yeah, would be another one.
Can you actually? Is Ashbringer like a drop you can get it? No, it's just an artifact weapon, right? Like
Ashbringer
if
was
we're
a drop.
talking legendaries, we would have
Corrupted Ashbringer was a drop.
corrupted Ashbringer. Yeah, sure. But like if you're talking actual legendaries, we'd have to have like the friggin' Warglaives and all that
Warglaives,
kind
yeah.
of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
See,
And
I
those
know
aren't
about the
even in the game.
Warglaives. I just didn't know about Thunder Fury.
or like
Oh, yeah.
capes, rings and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bow for hunters. So it'd be interesting
they
if
went real
they.
lame, didn't they? Capes and
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, now they're like
capes is
everyone
kind of
gets
okay,
it.
but then they just went with a ring. So
Let's do this long ass quest, and
see that?
everybody
Get
gets
this
it. You don't have to
long
get
ass quest, and all
lost.
you get is a stat JPEG, basically.
It's a really good buff, though.
It is,
I actually
but
finally got my legendary ring in WoW, like after forever.
I got to
gonna
the
get to
very
this
last
next
quest, and I was just like, oh, I just don't want to grind LFR, so
LFR,
I'm out.
You have to get 33 of those damn things.
Yeah,
Although I'll
say
say that it happened pretty fast.
Like, no.
It happened pretty fast. I think it took me like 4 solid weeks of LFRing.
That's too many weeks of LFRing.
yep.
And I can't.
Well, it's
I
too
don't
many
think
now.
I can do it now, right?
That you can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I think we've landed on there's plenty of weapons they could add, but we're not so sure they're going to. Sulfurious Hand of Rag, that too. We could also see that.
That was the most long-winded way to answer that guy's short-ass question.
Yep. Zach, so the answer to your question is Jocelyn needs to watch Indiana Jones. That's the answer to your question. Jocelyn, would you like to take the final email?
Sure. This one comes to us from Tony. He says, well met, TAC crew. I love the podcast. Makes bus rides to work great. FYI, the Brawl segment covering Karazhan is brilliant. Okay, so I've been playing Hearthstone since last November. I usually get to about rank 14 on ladder, which is fine. I'm a dedicated casual, as they say. One day rank 10 or maybe legend. Heroic Nax and Blackrock Mountain took me months to figure out, and then League came along, which took about a month to complete on Heroic. Now it's party time in Karazhan. Within a few short hours, with the exception of chess, which took about 30 or so tries, I have completed all the heroics to date. So to my question, do you guys feel that Blizzard is making adventures easier to appeal to new players that are coming to the game, or are these adventures indeed just as hard as Nax and BRM? I want heroic adventures to be harder because that's the draw. When ladder is painful, usually week 1 and week 4 of every season, adventures fill my Hearthstone time. So that's a really interesting, because I know I'm not a big heroic adventure person. I did Nax and then didn't do any of the other ones. I think I might have done a wing or two of BRM, but I didn't do heroic adventures. I prefer the kind of PvP aspects to the single player aspects of Hearthstone. But so yeah, I don't really know heroic wise, is this that different? But I have heard from a lot of people that this adventure in general on heroic is way easier than the previous 3. Have you guys done very much dabbling? I know we talked about it a little bit off the top of the show, but heroic in general, like have you done a lot of it this time?
No, I don't generally either. My plan is to go back and like actually do them all at once, at some point. Just kind of do the puzzle, just try, solve these puzzles. But what I've heard that at least the second wing is super easy. I've done the Magic Mirror one on heroic just because it was a bounty in my chat one night. And that wasn't very hard either.
That was a really entertaining boss.
Yeah, that only took me 2 tries on heroic, so I guess that's easy. I don't know if they're making them easier just to appeal to new players, but I think there's a couple things that could be happening. Like one, it sounds like this person has done a bunch of them, right? So they are probably getting better at figuring out how to solve these puzzles. And the other thing too is because you can use wild cards, you have now more options to beat all of these bosses, right? So when Nax came out, there was very few options with which to use to beat those bosses. So
I wonder if the difficulty level had anything to do with just looking at back-end stats from Blizzard's perspective. I mean, like, I wonder
maybe
how
they
many.
thought it was too hard. Yeah.
Maybe not enough people were completing it, and maybe people like me. I mean, I didn't even try League of Explorers Heroic because I was just like, not really my thing. So I wonder if they looked at the stats and just went, wow, like people really aren't playing this. Maybe if we make it a little bit easier, more people will take the time to actually give heroic a try.
I mean, yeah, it's personally, I don't know if they really even care about how many people do the heroic thing. I know they've said that they want it to be like, the normal is for everyone. We want you to be able to do it quickly. And then the heroic is kind of for people who really care, right? Who like a challenge and want that to be a challenge. I would like them to make sure that they are still a challenge because I think that is cool for those people. And especially when they have that, I don't know if they did it this time around, but I remember last time when League of Explorers came out, Twitch was doing like a contest. Whoever beat it first and had like proof on stream that they beat it were getting prizes and stuff. So I like the idea of it being hard for those people who care about that. Always in WoW, the race to world first is like a big deal, right? So it'd be kind of cool if in Hearthstone you got that, like an achievement to be the first person to actually beat it and stuff. Yeah. Kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that it would just naturally over time get easier because deck creation for adventures is wild legal, basically. So you have access to every card that has ever been made. So it does make sense to me, outside of being a newer free-to-play player, that over time it just will become easier because you have a much larger tool set. And I think that's part of the reason chess is so hard here, is because you don't get to make your own deck. You're having to play with the deck that they provide for you. Now, a counterpoint to that is that the prologue mission with against Malcazar is supremely easy even on heroic, but they give you an overpowered deck, I think, on purpose there. I mean, we're dealing with very overpowered spell cards that are just supposed to be fun. It's supposed to give you the feeling of being as powerful as Medivh.
Yeah. And, look, this obviously doesn't really affect us that much. We don't care about these adventures, but I know there's a lot of people out there who do.
Yeah, with all three of us, we're not huge heroic fans.
We get the cards and we go.
Yeah. I don't think the reward from heroic is enough to warrant not enough to entice me. I'll tell you, to get me to play heroic, what you need is a Hearthstone offline mode, because it would be the perfect thing to do on an airplane.
Sure.
But half the time I don't have Wi-Fi, and the other times when I do, the Wi-Fi is so bad I can't keep a connection.
I really like the idea, and apparently this was kicked around by Blizzard, that in the adventures you earn the gold cards by doing the heroic version. And if that was the case, I would be all over it.
Yep, me too.
Do it.
Yeah,
me too. Absolutely.
But instead, it's like, here's another card back you'll never use, because how often do you actually open your card back thing and cycle through like your 40 different card backs?
I do it every single time. I said do. I do it every single time that I make a new deck, because I'm that guy. And when
gotta match your
When I play Magic, I put thought into what card covers I'm using. So it's the same thing in Hearthstone. That being said, there are so many damn card backs now.
I just used the Jocelyn card back.
What is the Jocelyn card back now?
It's the new one.
The new one, because it used to be the rainbow.
Yeah.
And then for a
the
while,
disco ball and the like sparkles and
so you went from
stars,
do I have my history, my Jocelyn card back history correct? Was it originally the rainbow and then the cupcake and now the disco?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That sounds definitely cupcake was the winner for a while.
Well, good to know I will not get fired from my job of being the Jocelyn historian. So,
yep.
Wonderful.
I just use the legend card back.
The Jocelyn Chronicles.
I actually don't use the legend card back because Chalky shamed me when he was on the show. He was like, yeah, you could tell the guy's only done it once. And I'm like, damn it. Quietly takes off my legend card back.
I will as someone who has never hit legend, Dills, I will back you up in saying that if I ever hit legend, I will be extremely proud of that card back, and I don't care what Chalky says. I'm gonna pull that sucker out all the time.
I did immediately switch to it. So, but then later on, I was like, yeah, it's almost like you're tipping your hand though, right? Like whenever I see the legend card back in play, I'm like, oh, a legend player, and then you suddenly start taking the games more seriously or something. So I don't want people to know that. I would rather they just think I'm some scrub,
I kind of do. I kind of want to hit legend once, and then 2 months later, when I'm restarting a season at level 20 because I didn't try super hard the season previous, I want them to go into their rank 21 match and be like, why the hell does my opponent have a legend card back?
That is the funny thing. When you're on rank 25 on your Asian account and then you see legend card back, and you're like, dude, what the hell happened? Did you just stop playing Hearthstone for months or something?
Which is very possible. It's
probably
very
possible.
Also
has the option of that fancy golden card back that you could only get in China or whatever. I think they might have changed how you get it now. I think it's finishing first in specific esports events or something.
I think it was just
but anyways,
making it into.
He has this super ridiculously hard to get card back. So
I'm pretty sure they made it just getting into an HCT event.
Yeah, I think if you play in them or whatever, you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you have to place high. I think to get into one of those, you have to place high. But
yeah, I guess so.
I gotta take my one world championship point and try to make this happen.
Yeah, exactly.
You got this, dude.
Gotta get that card back, dude.
Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thanks again to our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting us. That's why we're putting out this hour plus long video on Thursdays now as we're playing through the Karazhan thing, because we're like, yeah, we can skip a little side work today, right, guys? Yeah, thanks, patrons. So thank you guys. It means a lot to us. Also, thank you to those of you who are leaving us 5-star reviews on the iTunes store. This week, we wanted to thank Hydro for Life, who said they bring life to the competitive scene while keeping it real for us ranked 12 players. Also, thank you to Call Me Mr. J and Counter Zachary. Thanks for the 5-star reviews on iTunes, guys. Find more about this show and many others over at amove.tv. Also on YouTube at youtube.com/amovetv. That's where you can see the Karazhan video we recorded last Thursday. Thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Peter Williams. And you can go get some tax swag over at bit.ly/amovestore. Go check that out. Follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast, and we will be back next Tuesday night at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv for the next live episode of The Angry Chicken. Dills, where can folks find you?
Check me out on Twitter at Willie Dills. The stream is twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. Check me out on the instance and youtube.com/WillieDillsSF. Brand new video up last night. It's all about Res Priest and how ridiculous it can be sometimes. So, yeah. Also, somebody posted their list in that chat's comments. I want people to do more of that. So if you watch my videos, please give me your list. Start some conversation in the comments. I appreciate that kind of stuff.
You mean you don't want people just telling you that you look stupid?
No.
Or like that you smell funny?
And by the way, that has been happening more and more.
Oh, has
lately.
it?
I don't know what's going on. I think it might be the same guy.
Okay, well,
Just making different accounts.
Yeah, I think so.
I've been wildly inconsistent with my hair lately, and everyone on YouTube has
you hear it all the time,
have
right?
gone
Yeah.
to extreme lengths to point out they're basically judging all my different hairdos.
But that's on you. I mean, you set yourself up as hair guy, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I set myself up as hat guy. So if I take my hat off, people go crazy. If you don't do your hair.
I did think
like
you
if
were.
Jocelyn comes through and she just has regular blonde hair one day, people are going to be like, what the hell, man?
End of the world.
I remember
Yeah.
when I friended you on Facebook, Jocelyn. I think it was a photo of you with like brunette hair, and I was like, "Who is this imposter?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Never again. Never again.
Never again. Never again. All right, wonderful.
Those are
Well,
some dark days, literally.
yeah. Well, speaking of that, Jocelyn, where can folks find you? Not necessarily as a brunette.
On Twitter and Twitch, I'm at Joce Plays. You can also find me right here on twitch.tv/amovetv every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for The Gamers In, which is my general gaming podcast.
Can we make
it.
it a goal on the Patreon that if we hit a certain amount, Dills will start styling his hair like me, Jocelyn will start wearing neat dude hats, and I will grow my hair out like past my back and dye
Just
it
freak
crazy
everyone
colors.
out one day.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll show up as doppelgangers of each other.
Doppelgangers, yeah. That would be a fun thing to do on April 1st. Like I'll get a Joce wig, and Joce can get a neat dude hat, and Dills, you can, I don't know, just get fabulous.
Just yell it up and go.
Yeah. I think we should definitely do that.
Sounds like
I mean,
a plan.
my hair can get pretty tall right now. Although now it's all flattened out, but
I saw.
you
Got
saw
some
it, yeah.
length
You
there.
saw it in Florida.
I was
gelled up and, yeah.
I was lucky enough to see Dills come back fresh off of a haircut. And guys, I'm so jealous of Dills' hair. I don't know why you wear a hat all the time, dude, because you didn't have any product in it and it looked perfect. So
Here's the thing. I really like not having sun in my eyes. And I think that's just become a thing.
I can respect
Like as a
that.
kid, I just wore a Giants hat every day. And as I grew up, I was just like, yeah, I just wear a hat.
Yeah, I'm jealous of your.
Although when I was in a band and I had to like look cool on stage and grow my hair out, like,
Well, there's
you know,
always one dude in a band with a hat.
that's true. And it's usually the bass player.
It's
too,
either the
isn't
bass
it?
player or the drummer. It's either the bass player or the drummer, or
Yeah.
you're the lead singer of Fall Out Boy. But
Right, Jocelyn? It's usually the bass player.
Absolutely.
always. Always. Folks, you can find me online. I'm on Twitter at Garrett Art. I'm over at newmoonart.com. That's my graphic design portfolio. You can find me talking heroes on Into the Nexus and talking to myself, or sometimes with guests, on The Angry Nerd. Actually, New Angry Nerd is out, all about No Man's Sky, and I had our good friend who's been on this show multiple times, Phil Kohler from Polygon, on
Nice.
to join me in said chat. So if you want to hear my thoughts and his thoughts on No Man's Sky, well, if you want to hear Phil's thoughts, you can actually read his review on Polygon. But if you want to hear more about it, you can listen to The Angry Nerd. Go check that out. Don't forget about Harry's.com. You can use the code TAC to get the $15 Truman Starter Set for only $10 and support the show while you're doing it, and then look fantastic because you've got yourself some nice new affordable blades. So go check it out.
they're sweet.
Harry's.com. We thank them for their support. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Dills and Jocelyn, for putting a big fat smile on my stupid face on a otherwise grumpy day. And until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!